The 1966 United States quarter dollar, often called the Washington quarter, holds a significant place in American numismatic history as part of the transitional era between the silver coinage of earlier decades and the clad coinage that defines modern U.S. coinage. To understand the full story of this coin, it is important to trace both its historical context and its design heritage. The Washington quarter was first introduced in 1932 to commemorate the 200th anniversary of George Washington's birth. The coin was intended as a one-year commemorative issue but was so popular that it became the permanent design for the quarter-dollar denomination, replacing the standing Liberty quarter. The obverse of the 1966 quarter, as with all Washington quarters since 1932, features a left-facing portrait of George Washington, designed by sculptor John Flanagan, based on a bust by Jean-Antoine Houdon. Above Washington's head appears the word liberty, symbolizing the foundational American ideal. Just below his chin is the national motto, "In God We Trust," a phrase that has appeared on most U.S. coinage since the 19th century and was officially mandated in 1955. Beneath the bust, at the lower rim of the coin, is the date 1966, signifying the year of issue. The reverse design of the coin depicts a heraldic eagle with outstretched wings clutching a bundle of arrows, symbolizing readiness for defense, and an olive branch below, representing peace. Around the top of the reverse is the inscription United States of America, and below it, the motto E pluribus unum, Latin for out of many one, referencing the unity of the states. At the bottom of the coin appears the denomination quarter dollar. The overall artistry of the design reflects early 20th century neoclassical sensibilities combined with patriotic iconography. Though the design remained largely consistent for decades, slight variations occurred in relief, spacing, and detailing, depending on the minting year and die preparation. The 1966 Washington quarter is especially important because it belongs to the short transitional period in U.S. coinage history when silver was eliminated from circulating coins. Before 1965, quarters were composed of 90% silver and 10% copper, giving them a distinct luster and intrinsic metal value. However, due to rising silver prices and the widespread hoarding of silver coins during the early 1960s, the U.S. government, under President Lyndon B. Johnson, enacted the Coinage Act of 1965. This law removed silver from circulating dimes and quarters, substituting a clad composition made of a copper-nickel outer layer bonded to a pure copper core. This change was intended to preserve the nation's coin supply and stabilize the economy by preventing silver shortages. Consequently, the 1966 quarter was struck using this new clad composition, specifically 75% copper and 25% nickel on the outside, with a 100% copper core, resulting in an overall composition of about 91.67% copper and 8.33% nickel by weight. The coin weighs 5.67 grams, measures 24.3 millimeters in diameter, and has a reeded edge with 119 reeds. Another key feature of the 1966 quarter is the absence of a mint mark. During the transition years from 1965 to 1967, the U.S. Mint temporarily removed mint marks from all coins to discourage hoarding and speculation by collectors who might otherwise set aside coins based on their mint origin. Thus, all 1966 quarters, regardless of whether they were struck in Philadelphia, Denver, or San Francisco, bear no mint mark. This policy was reversed beginning in 1968, when mint marks were reinstated. The lack of mint marks on 1966 coins has since become an identifying characteristic of this transitional issue. The mintage for 1966 was approximately 821 million pieces, one of the highest figures up to that time, reflecting the government's effort to flood the economy with new coins to replace those withdrawn from circulation during the coin shortage of the early 1960s. From a collector's perspective, the 1966 quarter is typically considered common in circulated condition due to its high mintage and the fact that it never contained silver, meaning fewer were hoarded for intrinsic value. Most surviving examples show typical wear from circulation, including light smoothing of Washington's hair details and flattening of the eagle's feathers on the reverse. In uncirculated or mint state condition, however, the coin can be appealing to collectors, especially those assembling date runs of the Washington Quarter series. Examples graded MS, 65 or higher by major grading services such as PCGS or NGC can fetch modest premiums, particularly if they display sharp strikes, clean fields, and attractive luster. A small number of 1966 quarters also exist as special mint set (SMS) issues, which were sold by the U.S. Mint in place of regular proof sets during 1965 to 1967. These SMS coins have a distinctive satin-like finish and sharper details compared next top. The 1968 United States quarter dollar, often referred to simply as the Washington Quarter, is an important coin in American numismatic history, marking the continuation of a design that has become iconic in U.S. currency. First introduced in 1932 to commemorate the 200th anniversary of George Washington's birth, the quarter continued to bear his likeness well into the modern era. By 1968, the coin reflected several crucial transitions in American coinage history, particularly the post-1965 shift from silver to clad composition. The obverse of the 1968 quarter features a left-facing bust of George Washington, sculpted by John Flanagan, based on the celebrated bust by the French sculptor Jean-Antoine Houdon. Surrounding Washington's image are the inscriptions Liberty above his head, In God We Trust to the left, and the date, 1968, below the neckline. This design has remained largely unchanged over the decades, representing continuity, patriotism, and the respect Americans hold for their first president. The reverse of the coin, also designed by Flanagan, displays a majestic bald eagle with outstretched wings, perched on a bundle of arrows, symbolizing strength and readiness to defend the nation, and flanked below by two olive branches that represent peace. The words United States of America and E pluribus unum, meaning out of many one, appear above the eagle, while quarter dollar is inscribed below to indicate its denomination. In 1968, an important change took place in how and where quarters were minted. Before 1965, all U.S. quarters contained 90% silver and 10% copper, but due to the rising cost of silver, the Coinage Act of 1965 eliminated silver from circulating quarters. Thus, the 1968 quarter is composed of a copper-nickel clad layer, 75% copper and 25% nickel, bonded to a pure copper core, giving the coin a total weight of 5.67 grams and a diameter of 24.3 millimeters. It has a reeded edge, a feature intended originally to prevent shaving of precious metals from silver coins, but retained for consistency and tactile recognition. In 1968, the San Francisco Mint resumed the use of mint marks on U.S. coins, which had been temporarily suspended from 1965 to 1967. Therefore, quarters from 1968 can bear the mint marks D, Denver, S, San Francisco, or no mark, which indicates they were minted at the Philadelphia Mint. Notably, the San Francisco Mint did not produce quarters for circulation that year, but did strike-proof coins for collectors, making the 1968 S-proof quarter a desirable piece among numismatists. Proof coins were struck multiple times on specially polished planchets using mirrored dies to create sharp, high-contrast surfaces. While the 1968 Washington quarter is not particularly rare in circulated condition, its numismatic value can vary depending on its mint mark, strike quality, condition, and varieties or errors. For instance, a typical circulated 1968 quarter might only be worth its face value of 25 cents, but uncirculated or mint state examples graded MS, 65 or higher by the Professional Coin Grading Service, PCGS, or Numismatic Guarantee Company, NGC, can be worth a few dollars. Proof versions, especially those with deep cameo, DCM, contrast, can fetch $10 to $50 or more depending on grade. Additionally, certain rare errors, such as off-center strikes, doubled dies, or clipped planchets, can significantly raise a coin's value among collectors. In particular, some 1968 D quarters show minor variations in die alignment and lettering sharpness, which advanced collectors often study using magnification. From a broader historical perspective, the 1968 quarter represents a symbol of American economic resilience during a time of significant change. The late 1960s were a period of social transformation and political unrest in the United States, yet the nation's coinage remained a unifying emblem of shared heritage. The inscriptions "Liberty" and "In God We Trust" reflected the enduring values embedded in the American national identity. Though the coin no longer contained silver, it retained its traditional appearance and function, ensuring public trust and continuity in the monetary system. The use of the copper-nickel-clad composition proved durable and efficient, helping the U.S. Mint meet the high demand for circulating coins during the expanding economy of the post-war era. Collectors today often appreciate the 1968 quarter not only for its design and symbolism but also for its place in the evolution of U.S. coinage technology. Advances in die production, minting machinery, and quality control were evident in the coins of this period, as the U.S. Mint continued to modernize its processes. The reintroduction of mint marks in 1968 added renewed interest to collecting by origin and provided a clear distinction between proof and circulation issues. Many enthusiasts seek to assemble complete Dayton mint mark sets, in which the 1968 quarter occupies an important next top. The 1996 United States quarter dollar is part of the long-running Washington quarter series, which has been a fundamental denomination in American coinage since its introduction in 1932. The coin features the portrait of George Washington, the first president of the United States, and it represents both a symbol of national pride and a practical circulating coin that has seen daily use for decades. The D Mint mark on the 1996 quarter indicates that it was struck at the Denver Mint, one of the primary facilities of the U.S. Mint, located in Denver, Colorado. This mint mark is positioned on the obverse front side of the coin, just to the right of Washington's ponytail ribbon, below the motto, "In God We Trust." The year of issue, 1996, is located at the bottom of the obverse side, marking it as part of the final years before the U.S. Mint transitioned to the state quarters program in 1999, which replaced the long-standing eagle reverse design. Because of this timing, the 1996 D quarter holds a special place as one of the last examples of the heraldic eagle reverse design, which had appeared on the coin since 1932, with some design modifications over time. The obverse design of the 1996 D quarter features the left-facing bust of George Washington, designed by sculptor John Flanagan, whose initials JF can often be found at the base of Washington's neck. The word "Liberty" arches prominently above Washington's head, symbolizing one of the nation's core ideals. To the left of Washington's portrait, in smaller but distinct lettering, is the national motto, "In God We Trust." This phrase, adopted as the official motto of the United States in 1956, but long present on American coinage, reflects the country's historical connection between faith and governance. Below Washington's image is the year 1996, denoting the date of minting, and the small letter D identifies the Denver Mint. The reverse back design of the 1996 D quarter displays a bold and dignified heraldic eagle, a design also by John Flanagan. The eagle is shown perched on a bundle of arrows, representing preparedness for war, with two olive branches beneath, symbolizing peace. The eagle's wings are fully outstretched, conveying strength and freedom. Around the upper rim is the inscription, "United States of America," and directly below it, the phrase "E pluribus unum," which translates from Latin as "out of many, one," highlighting the unity of the states. The denomination quarter dollar is engraved along the bottom rim. The reverse design remained largely unchanged for more than 6 decades, making it one of the most recognized and enduring motifs in American coinage history. In terms of physical specifications, the 1996 D quarter dollar is composed of copper-nickel-clad metal. Its outer layers consist of 75% copper and 25% nickel, bonded to a core that is 100% copper. This gives the coin a silvery appearance while maintaining durability for circulation. The coin has a diameter of 24.26 millimeters, 0.955 inches, a thickness of 1.75 millimeters, and a mass of 5.67 grams. The edge is reeded, featuring fine grooves, which not only provides tactile distinction but also serves as a security measure against coin shaving or counterfeiting. The Denver Mint produced a substantial quantity of 1996 quarters. The official mintage figure for the 1996 D quarter stands at approximately 906,868,000 coins, nearly reaching the billion mark. This high production number means that the coin is common in circulation and generally not considered rare in circulated condition. However, as with all coins, specific varieties and conditions can influence collector interest and value. For example, coins that are in mint state, MS, condition, that is, showing no signs of circulation wear, can command higher prices, especially if they have strong strikes, lustrous surfaces, and no major blemishes. In the numismatic market, the 1996 D Washington quarter holds modest but consistent appeal among collectors, particularly those assembling date and mint mark sets of Washington quarters. Circulated examples typically trade for face value, 25 cents, but uncirculated specimens graded MS, 65, gem uncirculated, by professional grading services such as PCGS or NGC can be valued at around $3 to $5, depending on market conditions. Exceptional examples in MS, 67 or higher, particularly those with brilliant luster or full strike details, may fetch $20 to $50 or more, as they are significantly scarcer. Coins exhibiting errors, such as off-center strikes, double dies, or planchet flaws, can command much higher premiums, depending on the rarity and visual impact of the error. A notable variety to look for in the 1996 D quarter is the full strike or full detail version, where all design elements, including Washington's hair and the eagle's feathers, are sharply defined. This quality of strike can enhance the coin's appeal to discerning collectors. Additionally, some collectors pursue next top. The 1967 United States quarter dollar, commonly known as the 1967 Washington quarter, holds an important place in the history of American coinage, representing a transitional era in U.S. monetary policy and minting practices. The obverse front of the coin features the iconic portrait of George Washington, the first president of the United States, facing left. This design was originally created in 1932 by sculptor John Flanagan, based on Jean-Antoine Houdon's 1785 bust of Washington. The inscriptions on the obverse include Liberty above Washington's head, In God We Trust to the left, and the date, 1967, below. The simplicity and boldness of these inscriptions reflect the patriotic and neoclassical design ethos typical of early to mid-20th century U.S. coinage. On the reverse back, the design continues with Flanagan heraldic eagle, wings spread majestically, clutching a bundle of arrows and an olive branch, symbolizing America's readiness for defense and desire for peace. The legend, United States of America, arcs across the top, while E pluribus unum, out of many one, is positioned just above the eagle, and quarter dollar marks the denomination at the bottom. The 1967 quarter was minted during a turbulent yet fascinating period in U.S. coinage history. In 1965, due to the rising price of silver, the U.S. Mint eliminated silver from circulating dimes and quarters, switching instead to a clad composition, a sandwich of 75% copper and 25% nickel bonded to a pure copper core. As a result, the 1967 quarter, like its 1965 and 1966 counterparts, contains no silver and weighs 5.67 grams, with a diameter of 24.3 millimeters and a reeded, grooved edge. The mint also took the unusual step of omitting mint marks, letters indicating where a coin was made, on all coins struck between 1965 and 1967, in an attempt to discourage hoarding and speculative collecting that had become rampant during the silver shortage. Therefore, even though millions of 1967 quarters were produced at multiple mint facilities, including Philadelphia, Denver, and San Francisco, none bear a mint mark. They all appear as if struck at the Philadelphia Mint. In total, an estimated 1.5 billion 1967 quarters were minted, a massive mintage reflecting the government's efforts to meet the demand for coinage following widespread shortages earlier in the decade. Despite the enormous quantity, the 1967 quarter still holds historical and collector interest for several reasons. First, it symbolizes the full transition from silver to clad coinage, a defining economic and cultural shift. Second, the absence of mint marks and proof issues makes this year distinctive. Proof sets were not officially issued in 1967. Instead, the Mint released special mint sets, SMS, which were intended to satisfy collectors during this period of reform. These SMS quarters have a slightly higher quality finish, smoother surfaces, light reflectivity, and sharper details compared to the standard circulation strikes. Collectors can often distinguish them by their satin-like texture and well-defined design features. In terms of value, the 1967 quarter is typically worth its face value of 25 cents in circulated condition, since it contains no silver and is not rare. However, uncirculated examples or those from the special mint set may be worth between $1 and $10, depending on grade and luster. Exceptional specimens with high grade certified by professional grading services like PCGS or NGC can fetch $50 to $200 or more, especially if they display full details, minimal contact marks, or unique characteristics such as full strike or full steps. A handful of error coins, such as those struck on misaligned planchets with double dies or on leftover silver planchets, extremely rare, can be worth hundreds or even thousands of dollars to specialized collectors. The motto, "In God We Trust," prominently displayed on the obverse, has deep historical roots. It was first placed on U.S. coinage during the Civil War, 1864, as an expression of national faith, later mandated by law for all coins. By 1967, amid the social and political upheavals of the 1960s, including the Vietnam War, the Civil Rights Movement, and economic uncertainty, the motto carried both traditional and symbolic resonance, embodying continuity amid change. Similarly, the word liberty atop the coin stands as a reminder of America's founding ideals, while Washington's steady gaze reflects both strength and humility, virtues deeply associated with the nation's first leader. From a historical and cultural standpoint, the 1967 Washington quarter represents stability through transformation. It maintained the familiar patriotic imagery of Washington and the eagle, anchoring Americans in their heritage, while embracing technological and economic modernization through its new metal composition. This balance between tradition and progress is what gives the 1967 quarter lasting significance. Next top. The 1986 United States quarter dollar, commonly known as the 1986 Denver Mint Washington quarter, represents an enduring chapter in the long-running Washington Quarter series that began in 1932 to honor the 200th anniversary of George Washington's birth. By 1986, the Washington Quarter had been a fixture of American coinage for more than half a century, serving both as an everyday instrument of commerce and a symbol of the country's enduring respect for its first president and founding ideals. The obverse of the 1986 quarter features the familiar left-facing bust of George Washington, designed by John Flanagan, based on the neoclassical bust sculpted by Jean-Antoine Houdon in 1785. The portrait is bold and dignified, embodying Washington's strength, moral character, and leadership. Surrounding the image are the inscriptions "Liberty" above his head and "In God We Trust" to the left, with the date 1986 centered below the neckline. The small D mint mark, found just to the right of the ribbon tying Washington's hair, signifies that the coin was struck at the Denver Mint in Colorado. The reverse of the coin continues Flanagan's classic design of a majestic bald eagle, wings outstretched, perched atop a bundle of arrows symbolizing the nation's readiness to defend itself, while two olive branches below represent peace. The words "United States of America" arc along the top rim, with "E pluribus unum," out of many one, beneath the eagle, and the denomination quarter dollar inscribed along the bottom. The composition of the 1986 quarter is the modern copper-nickel clad formula that the U.S. Mint adopted after the Coinage Act of 1965, replacing the earlier 90% silver content used from 1932 to 1964. This post-1965 composition consists of an outer layer of 75% copper and 25% nickel bonded to a pure copper core, giving the coin its characteristic silvery appearance and reddish edge when viewed closely. The coin weighs 5.67 grams, has a diameter of 24.3 millimeters, and a reeded edge with 119 tiny grooves, a traditional anti-counterfeiting feature originally used to prevent the clipping of precious metal from silver coins. By 1986, the U.S. Mint had refined its production processes significantly, achieving consistent striking quality and high volume. The Denver Mint, known for its efficiency, produced a total of 504,298,660 quarters that year, over 500 million coins, making the 1986 quarter a common circulation issue. Despite its abundance, the coin still holds importance to collectors as a part of the full Washington quarter Dayton Mintmark set, bridging the period between the late 1970s mint boom and the later commemorative redesigns leading up to the 1999 to 2008 state quarter series. From a numismatic perspective, most 1986 quarters found in circulation are worth their face value of 25 cents, as so many were minted and still remain in common use today. However, well-preserved examples in uncirculated or mint state condition can be more valuable. A typical MS 65 gem uncirculated coin might be valued between $5 and $10, while superb specimens graded MS 67 or MS 68 can command prices ranging from $50 to $300 or more, depending on luster, strike sharpness, and absence of contact marks. Because modern clad coins tend to show bag marks easily due to their harder metal composition, truly flawless examples are relatively scarce, and collectors often seek high-grade 1986 quarters certified by professional grading services like PCGS or NGC. Furthermore, the proof versions of the 1986 quarter, bearing the S Mint mark, were struck exclusively at the San Francisco Mint for inclusion in collector proof sets. These proof coins, while not minted in Denver, complement the 1986 issue and feature deeply mirrored fields with frosted design elements, known as cameo or deep cameo finishes. There are also certain die varieties and errors that add fascination for specialists. Some 1986 quarters may show slight die cracks, die chips, or minor misalignments, though no major double die or off-center varieties have been officially recognized by the major grading services as of now. Still, hobbyists enjoy examining circulation finds under magnification, hunting for small minting anomalies that can increase numismatic interest. Even minor planchet flaws or clad layer separation errors, where part of the copper core becomes visible through the nickel surface, can make a specimen collectible. In terms of historical context, the year 1986 was a dynamic period for the United States, marked by rapid technological advancement, Cold War diplomacy, and a wave of national pride surrounding events such as the Statue of Liberty Centennial. Interestingly, that same year the U.S. Mint issued the first-ever modern American silver eagle bullion coin, symbolizing America's return to producing silver coins for investment and commemoration, even as circulating quarters remained clad. The Washington quarter, in the next top. The United States bicentennial quarter dollar, marked with the dual date 1776 to 1976, was issued to commemorate the 200th anniversary of American independence. This special edition quarter was part of a larger bicentennial coin program authorized by Congress in 1973, which included redesigned versions of the quarter, half-dollar, and dollar coins. Production began in 1975 and continued through 1976, and importantly, none of these coins bear the date 1975. All were struck with the dual date 1776 to 1976 to celebrate 2 centuries of American liberty. The obverse front of the coin retains the familiar bust of George Washington, first used on the quarter in 1932, designed by John Flanagan. Above Washington's head appears the word Liberty, while to the left is the motto, In God We Trust, and beneath the bust is the dual date, 1776 to 1976. The reverse, back, features a special bicentennial design created by Jack L. AHR, selected from a national design competition. It depicts a colonial drummer, often referred to as the drummer boy, with a victory torch encircled by 13 stars representing the original colonies. The legend United States of America curves along the top rim, while E pluribus unum and the denomination quarter dollar appear at the bottom. The coin was struck at 3 mints, Philadelphia, no mint mark, Denver, D, and San Francisco, S. Philadelphia and Denver produced circulation strikes in the standard copper, nickel-clad composition, outer layers of 75% copper and 25% nickel bonded to a pure copper core. The San Francisco Mint struck both proof coins and 40% silver collector editions for sale in special bicentennial sets. Over 1.6 billion bicentennial quarters were produced in total, making them one of the most common commemorative coins in U.S. history. Despite their abundance, the silver-clad versions and certain proof or mint-era varieties hold collectible value. The 40% silver quarters can be identified by their S mint mark and slightly different tone compared to regular clad coins. These were often sold in 3-coin proof or uncirculated sets alongside matching half dollars and dollars. The bicentennial quarter holds special historical and symbolic significance. It was the first time since 1892 that circulating U.S. coinage featured a temporary reverse design. The decision to use a dual date, 1776 to 1976, instead of a single date was meant to honor the entire bicentennial period, connecting the coin's issuance to the nation's founding. The imagery of the colonial drummer reflects both the spirit of the Revolutionary War and the enduring ideal of liberty. The motto, "In God We Trust," remained in its traditional position on the obverse, symbolizing continuity between the founding era and modern America. Millions of these coins entered circulation, serving as small, everyday reminders of the bicentennial celebrations held nationwide, such as the tall ship parades, reenactments, and the signing commemorations in Philadelphia. From a numismatic perspective, the 1776 to 1976 quarter is not rare, but it remains a beloved keepsake. Circulated examples are worth their face value of 25 cents, while uncirculated or proof coins, especially those in original government packaging, can range from $1 to $10 depending on condition. The 40% silver proofs can fetch between $5 and $15, and certified high-grade examples, MS67 or PR70, can sell for much more among collectors. Certain varieties, such as double dies or struck-through errors, also add to the coin's appeal and potential value. Today, nearly 5 decades after its release, the bicentennial quarter continues to stand as a cultural artifact, an emblem of American pride and unity. Its imagery of a colonial drummer, the dual dates celebrating freedom's bicentennial, and the enduring inscriptions "Liberty" and "In God We Trust" together create a powerful statement of the nation's heritage and resilience. Whether found in a jar of spare change or preserved in a collector's album, the 1776 to 1976 quarter remains a timeless symbol of the American spirit, bridging the past and the present through the language of coinage.